The entire initiative is at risk. None of the Golden Worlds panned out. They're a bust. We need to find more resources, but that takes people, and we can't wake them up. Now more than ever,
After playing Mass Effect Legendary Edition for the past couple of weeks, I couldn't help but keep going down the rabbit hole of the franchise. It's like watching the first Lord of the Rings film. Once you've watched The Fellowship of the Ring, you want to watch the entire trilogy, and once you've finished the trilogy, you'll be sitting there sporting a serious erection, and the only place to go is The Hobbit. Now the same can be said for the Mass Effect series, but you know, with Andromeda. I booted up and decided to play Mass Effect Andromeda to see what it's like a couple of years later, and if it deserved all the hate. If you've seen the confusing and awful film Alien Covenant, then Mass Effect Andromeda will be a little familiar and also better than that film, because that film is awful. Basically, a space convoy with 20,000 human settlers leave the Milky Way system to find a new galaxy and a home, which is a bit generic when you think of a plot for a space-related game. Anyways, slowly colonists and required personnel start to wake up and get ready for setting up their new home on their new planet, only to be greeted by a planet that looks completely different to what you thought you were going to arrive at, and it's also got aliens that aren't friendly, and they're not native. You'll play as a character known as Ryder, who again you'll be able to create and customize the look and the class of your character. From there you'll wake up on the colonist ship where your sister is still stuck in suspended animation, for now at least, and your father needs assistance going planetside to see what's happened to your new home planet and why it's gone from a traditional paradise to something out of World of Warcraft. The opening story premise of Mass Effect Andromeda, I will say, is great and it makes sense, and it's also a lot smarter than that of Alien Covenant. A colony of humans have moved to a new galaxy, and upon arriving what would basically be the new Earth for the system, it's surrounded by what can only be described as space poop dust, and the planet has completely changed. You'll go down to the planet wearing sealed suits and helmets because you've never been to this planet before. Pay attention, Ridley Scott. You'll be attacked by aliens, lose crew members, and your father sacrifices his life in order to save you. Basically, the start of the game is full of emotion and character development and impressive graphics and sound design, all of it to fall apart pretty quickly from here. After the opening introduction to the game, you'll go to a giant space station, which basically acts like the Citadel from the first trilogy, but it's still under construction. The premise is that other colony ships from different species from the Milky Way have joined in with the humans to go to the Andromeda galaxy, which, if you ask me, is a piss-poor excuse to give us some new alien designs, and I'll get to that a bit later. Anyways, you'll notice that basically the Citadel 2.0 is still under construction, and it's also dead quiet with no lights, no power, and radio silence. Now, what could have been set up as basically a mass floating grave with new mysterious alien creatures, or even just dead bodies floating around a space station, turns into, well, we were expecting colonist ships about 14 months ago, and everyone here is nearly running out of food or they're still asleep. Basically, from here, you're given your dad's old job and you need to go out and find other missing colonist ships and planets for people to live on. Yes, this is a basic summary, but Mass Effect Andromeda plays the story and plot elements very safe. On top of this, the alien faction you faced off against at the start of the game, they're hunting you down as they want a very experimental AI that can talk to alien technology that they can't talk to. Yeah, it's pretty bland stuff. Anyways, from here you'll need to go out into space and find planets and missing colony ships, and you'll need your own mode of transport, which is when you get the Tempest, which, if you've played the previous Mass Effect games, this is exactly like the Normandy from the previous games. You'll be able to customize what your character wears on the ship, and all options are pretty damn shit if you ask me. You'll also be able to change the color palette of your armor, roam around the ship talking to crew members, and obviously fly from planet to planet. Basically, it's a prettier version of the Normandy, but with crew that just isn't interesting. Just like all other Mass Effect games before it, you can take companions here with you in Andromeda. However, in Mass Effect 2 and 3, you could recruit basically a damn platoon of companions, all with their own special abilities and characters that you've gotten a connection to. However, here in Andromeda, there aren't that many companions you can choose to bring along with you, and none of them are interesting. You'll start off with 2 human companions who have personalities like an orthopedic shoe. There's Liam, who's a generic soldier character who is as generic as his class, and then there's Ellen DeGeneres, who is as entertaining as actually watching The Ellen Show. Just like the first Mass Effect game, you'll only have a handful of companions to choose from, one of which basically invites themselves onto your ship, like an unwanted family member inviting themselves over to your house.
Hello! Hello! You have my My pills! Hello? I'm cold and there are wolves after me.
Gameplay wise though, the combat here in Mass Effect Andromeda is fun, fluid, and full of action. I found myself going and getting another beer anytime something pointless would come up, but as soon as the combat started, I was in the zone. Now you automatically pop into cover whenever your character gets close to them, which works, and it also gets annoying very fast. Now while I understand automatically popping into cover may free up a button on a controller or a button mapping, but manually hitting a button to jump into cover is always preferred. It's a feature that we don't need automated. Some things are better done manually, like building Lego for example. Thankfully though, the rest of the combat mechanics are pretty damn fucking good. Sorry for the language, but they're pretty good. Weapons have a solid kick to them, just like you'd expect from combat following Mass Effect 3. There are new abilities and ways that the class system work, and a new mechanic with a jump pack allowing Ryder to do some simple platforming and also giving you some verticality in combat. I basically tried to make my character a bit like Boba Fett with a flamethrower ability and launching myself into the air to get the high ground. Just like the previous entries too, you can command your companions to move to certain locations or to hold ground, but I rarely found myself using the squad command options and basically just took out everything myself. Now what did hurt the gameplay and the combat mechanics for me were companions. You see, in Mass Effect 1 to 3, I cared about Garrus and Rex and Jax and Miranda because they were interesting characters, and each character had naturally flowed into the story and into a member of your team. Where here in Andromeda, I couldn't give a fuck about what character I picked as long as they helped me defeat enemies or hold down a position. Where in the original game, yes, I had Garrus most of the time, but I also picked what characters I wanted to build a connection with, or that their abilities would come in handy. Not the case here, and I honestly couldn't care if some of these characters died if I'm honest. Hell, the introduction to one character is that she jumps and mounts you. Being in a different galaxy, you'd be on somewhat constant edge, especially on a new planet. So if someone ran out of nowhere and mounted me, they'd be getting a bullet through the dome, rock a microphone. Now when you arrive on planets and go out for missions, actually before you set out, you'll be able to pick your character's armor, weapons and companions. It's pretty straightforward stuff, but it's also a little bit confusing too. See, you'll be able to change what your character's armor looks like when you're on board your ship, which is great because I love being able to customize my characters. But if you want to see what certain armor will look like, you'll need to put it on. You'll basically need to go out onto a mission, equip different armor before you set out to start your mission. Now why there isn't just a standard RPG inventory screen like Dragon Age, Witcher and Skyrim is beyond me. Fuck, in the previous Mass Effect games you could change your armor in the customization panel in the captain's quarters on your ship. You can also find armor out in the wild and immediately equip it if you want to. However, if you don't like that armor for whatever reason, then you can't go back into your inventory screen and change it. You'll need to go to a drop pod or go back to your ship and then back out of your ship to change your armor. Now when roaming around on planets, you can approach drop pods, which work like safe areas from any biohazards like radiations or storms, and let your life support systems recharge. Here you can change your loadout, change your armor too should you want to, and also call in the Nomad. The driving section, which wasn't a great idea from the first Mass Effect game, is back here in Mass Effect Andromeda, and I will say it is actually a bit of fun this time around. Some planets are huge and you'll need to venture out of settlements and go into dangerous biohazard areas. And the Nomad comes in handy for getting around. Not only is it a faster way to move around large planets, but it's also a six-wheel drive that can climb nearly any surface with ease. You'll also have the standard boost and jump button functionality, but even be able to change the colour of your vehicle if you want to as well. Now, what I don't understand though is, well, when you're roaming around on planets, depending on what planet, there'll be a biohazard like radiation for example, and I get that the Nomad works as a safe haven from threats of radiation and such, but why is it when my character is running around in the open air with radiation around me, he and my squad mates aren't forced to helmet up? You'd think if you'd maybe put your helmet on, you'd have a longer resistance to effects like radiation or lightning, while running around without a helmet basically makes you barf up a testicle while your face melts off. An issue with Andromeda is that the story starts off pretty strong and then gets real boring real quick. During all cutscenes and dialogue moments, I honestly couldn't care what was happening and I just wanted to explore planets and shoot things again. As this is a new galaxy that no one has ventured to, there are only 2 new alien species here. these weird aliens that look like they have no expression, and these weird pink looking aliens that look like a Wish.com version of Twi'leks from Star Wars. I mean, let's take a look at Star Wars for example. With every new entry and film, we're seeing alien creatures that we've never seen before, where Mass Effect Andromeda has an entirely new galaxy with 2 new alien species. This could have been a great opportunity to have a shared species arc from the Milky Way enter the Andromeda galaxy and then introduce us to a heap of new alien races and new companions. Not to beat a dead horse, but there are only 6 companions to choose from, all of which suck, and the companion combat system from previous Mass Effect games isn't here. You can't tell companions to use certain abilities or to equip certain weapons or to just pause the game and assess the situation. Graphically, Mass Effect Andromeda works and doesn't work at the same time. Sometimes planets and character models can look fantastic, and I was a bit shocked by how good this game can look. But just like the inside of my colon, I started to dig a little deeper and I saw a lot of shit. Don't know why, but for one particular helmet, my character's eyelids were popping through the clouded visor of the helmet. There's texture popping, there's jittery cutscenes. I even had a cutscene where my character talked and then no dialogue came out.
Correct.
Some character models and textures are stretched and look weird, like look at the Krogan's neck when they turn their head. Level and planet designs, however, though, are pretty. You'll have your intended new Earth with floating rocks and lightning storms, a radiation desert planet where you'll unlock the Nomad and then go into a hidden alien atmospheric processor where the level design looks like it's been pulled from Destiny. While the traversal and combat can be fun, there are moments in Andromeda which are so boring, I nearly gave up on making this video. There are puzzle moments in Andromeda where you'll need to use your new Omni-Tool scanner to scan things. Now this can be used to scan items to see what they do. The scan tool is also used for puzzles like following power lines and seeing what needs to be repaired. It can be tedious, but it's not the worst part. To use certain alien technology, you'll need to do puzzles. Now, unlike previous Mass Effect games where you'll need to hack into circuitry, you'll need to do alien Sudoku. Who in their right mind thought this was a good idea? Hacking minigames found in previous games like Mass Effect and Bioshock work because they're quick puzzles and they have a timer, but they're also basic. Where these are stupid alien Sudoku puzzles, they're just time consuming and they slow the game down to a fucking crawl. When you get them wrong too, in some cases, enemies will spawn and you'll need to take care of them. Other times though, it'll just tell you that you're wrong and you need to try again like a marriage. In this game too, you also don't need Mass Effect drives to fly through space. Now, in the original games, to move from star system to star system, you basically needed to charge your ship through a Mass Effect drive which would then shoot you through space. Here in Andromeda, there are no Mass Effect drives. Instead, your ship will fly from galaxy to galaxy. Yeah, Mass Effect drives in the first 3 games were used like loading screens basically, but they're a key piece of technology in this universe. They should have called this game Andromeda a Mass Effect game. Mass Effect Andromeda is basically The Hobbit. It had a troubled production with the game's direction and key staff leaving during development. It is full of pointless dialogue, and while the story starts on a strong foot, you'll soon find yourself sitting there going, why am I playing this? Yes, the combat is fun, but it is broken up with boring characters, pointless dialogue, and stupid puzzles. Hell, you can't even be a renegade and act like a dick in this game. Whoever thought of doing Sudoku puzzles too?
What are you thinking?
Now, if you're a huge Mass Effect fan, then yeah, you might enjoy this. But if you love characters that had purpose and meaning while developing into friends rather than just being random aliens, Andromeda will leave you disappointed. That's why the original worked so well. The combat was good, but all the companions and characters were interesting, and you wanted to stray off the main story path to help out a friend in need. Where in Andromeda, anytime someone said, "Hey Ryder, have you got a minute?" or asked me for help with their personal life, my response was too bad, so sad.
Too bad. So sad.
Fuck, even with the character design, there's still only mid-2000s beard options. Now if you're interested in Andromeda, I'd say wait for it to go on sale. I picked up Andromeda for about $10 on Steam, and that's exactly when you should pick it up. I just hope we get a new Mass Effect game at some point when we won't be hit with so many bugs or issues or development hurdles, as this universe is something that needs to keep going.